Well, today, Wong is here in D.C., lobbying for something called the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act allows the U.S. government to sanction individuals who it decides are violating human rights in Hong Kong. It's a bill that's been heavily advocated for by a group of political parties in Hong Kong that call themselves the Pan-Democrats. The founding chairman of one of these parties even confirmed to me while I was in Hong Kong that he's been pushing U.S. officials to pass this bill. His name is Martin Lee, founding chairman of the Hong Kong Democratic Party and recipient of multiple awards from U.S. institutions, including a Democracy Award, which you can see right behind him, from the National Endowment for Democracy. Now, this endowment, while technically not part of the United States government, has a budget that is authorized by the U.S. Congress and distributed through the U.S. State Department. Additionally, the founding and current president of the Endowment for Democracy even admitted that it was created to continue the work of the CIA without the CIA's stigma. And it's hardly a secret that the work of the CIA includes this: destabilizing foreign governments via activities that include, but are not limited to, funding its opposition. Now, while I was in Hong Kong, I also spoke with Regina Ip, a member of both the Executive Council and the Legislative Council in Hong Kong. I first asked her about the role that these Pan-Democrats play in Hong Kong politics.
I think their policy basically is anti-China. A lot of time they act contrary to their pledges, and they do things which are really hurtful to the overall public interest of Hong Kong.
Now, it's no secret that the United States is in an unprecedented economic war. That's not just a trade war with China right now. Do you see the issues of Hong Kong being used by the U.S. government to further their own agenda?
There is rising evidence that Hong Kong is being used as a pawn because President Trump kept changing his tune. Sometimes he said this is an internal matter for China, but sometimes he said, the trade dispute, if it were not for the trade dispute, Hong Kong would be in worse shape, Clearly linking Hong Kong with the trade dispute, which is actually, as you say, a geopolitical struggle.
Not only does it seem that the United States is using the situation in Hong Kong, but some actually allege that the United States is fueling the situation in Hong Kong. So I want to talk about that for a little bit. I understand it's illegal for a political party in Hong Kong to take money from a foreign government, correct?
Yeah.
But is it illegal for a political party to take money from a foreign NGO?
That's not illegal. Definitely. There are gray areas, An NGO, giving money in the cause of promoting democracy, there's nothing we can do about it.
The situation in Hong Kong domestically has actually been on the decline.
Yes.
Some would say for the past couple decades. We have housing prices rising, inequalities increasing. I believe 1 in 5 people live in poverty. Due to the high degree of central planning in mainland China, many people have undoubtedly been lifted out of poverty in recent years. Do you suppose that people in Hong Kong are perhaps looking at that and looking at that economic growth and going, hey, why isn't that happening over here? And then blaming Beijing for neglect?
I don't think they blame Beijing because our own officials make our economic policy. I think our mistakes is to have hang on to the, Milton Friedman School of Free Market Economy of the 1970s for too long, rather than adjusting to the new realities. In the West, people don't talk about just free market. They talk about more compassionate form of capitalism, more sustainable form of capitalism, not just putting shareholders' value before purpose. I think our government really needs to take a hard look at our, old ideology.
Your government's not the only one. Do you think it would be possible for such a widespread protest movement to exist here in Hong Kong had there not been serious social inequities?
You see, a lot of young people think that they're taking part in a revolution. They are being a force for change for the better. But actually, if there had not been the sort of social inequities that you described, they would not be on the streets.
Do you think that Hong Kong's special status as being highly autonomous has been, in aggregate, good or bad for the working class?
That's a difficult question. You know, I think the livelihood of the working class is not determined by the level of autonomy we have. It's really determined by whether our government is able to make good social and economic policies. You know? And I think we have not been able to make the best policies that work in the interests of the average man in the street.
I've only been here for a couple of weeks, but it seems like, especially among the youth, the term Beijing is a bit synonymous with like the term bad guy. Why has this happened?
I think many of us believe they have been brainwashed in school and at colleges by a lot of teachers who are cynical, you know, and take an adverse view of China, you know, because of their mindless espousal of Western values. They cannot see China's development in a more objective light. And also, I think a lot of our young people feel threatened by the economic rise of China, because it is a fact that many of us are not as competitive as mainland students or mainland graduates. So some of the anti-China feelings could stem from a sense of insecurity.